Welcome to Coffee with Democrats, a sensible platform for progressive conversations. Coffee with Democrats is a grassroots movement dedicated to hearing from Democrats, candidates, legislators, and friends from all political backgrounds who want great conversations. Coffee with Democrats is committed to increase Democrat voter registration and Democrat voter turnout by making voting more exciting and meaningful. And now here's your host of Coffee with Democrats, Kevin Dawson.
All right, good morning and welcome to Coffee with Democrats. We are here today live with Kerri Keck. She's joining us on Coffee with Democrats, and I will be the host of this conversation today. So good morning, Kerri.
Good morning.
It's a wonderful, it's wonderful to see you. I've followed you a little bit. I'm a delegate with the Oklahoma Democratic Committee. And I think we've met at a couple of meetings along the way, and I've always been impressed with you. And I'm very, you couldn't. I was just thrilled whenever you made the announcement that you were going to run, and I am just, I'm one of your biggest fans. So,
thank you.
Before we get started very much in this, we do have to do a little bit of housekeeping.
Sure.
This is, after all, Coffee with Democrats. So let's talk a little bit about your favorite morning drink, whether it's coffee or whether it's something else. I mean, we really have to get down to the nuts and bolts of this, and this is serious stuff. We gotta know what's going on.
It is very serious stuff. So as you know, I was in the military for a while, and the military is big on coffee. The caffeine just is our go-go juice. But I always hated coffee until after I retired in 2021, and my husband got me started drinking coffee more, but I have to have flavored coffee.
Right.
I can't just drink it straight. But I watched a couple of your other videos, so you can't see it. So this is my favorite coffee cup.
Excellent.
It's actually a cup that I got when I deployed to Afghanistan the first time in 2003. So yeah. So coffee, I guess, and tea, anything warm, because my hands usually are cold. And so it's nice to have something to warm my hands up.
Well, that's excellent. Steve, we'll transition to you. What's your favorite morning drink?
I use a stovetop espresso maker and just concentrated coffee. So I'm not a coffee connoisseur per se. I just like strong coffee.
I was going to say, that sounds like freebasing coffee.
Oh, now come on, let's not get into that.
Yeah. Maybe not to that extent, huh?
Not to that extent, no.
Well, my favorite coffee is driving through McDonald's. I can tell you this right now, from all the years that I worked on the railroad, and particularly the last, it seems like there was a time from about 2005 through 2015, 2016 that I was on the road all the time. So every morning I had to get up, go find a place for coffee. And my favorite drive-through was McDonald's. And I would get and I'm like you, Kerri. I always went and got a coffee that had a lot of cream and sugar. So I would just order a black coffee with 5 creamers and 5 sweeteners in it, so that I didn't have to taste the coffee, but I got the effects of it.
Yeah.
So, well, we need to introduce Kerri, and I've got a biography here that I've got written up here, and I'm going to go ahead and read from this and kind of give the viewers of this show a little bit to know about Kerri. So Kerri grew up in Shawnee. She attended elementary through middle school, graduated from Dale High School. Her family was active in the community, playing sports at the YMCA and attending local church. Her dad retired from Shawnee Milling Company, where he served as a union president. Okay, I've got something to share with your dad. For a period of time, her mom retired from Shawnee Middle School, where she worked as a secretary. Again, we've got something in common there. My wife she's worked for 30 years as a secretary in education. Your dad, Kerri's dad, term as union president, fighting for workers' rights, and her parents' contributions to the community instilled in Kerri a desire to lead and to serve others. At high school graduation, Kerri enrolled in Oklahoma State University. That is going to thrill Steve to no end. He is a Oklahoma State fan. So you went to the Oklahoma City campus at age of 19. You made the choice to serve your country and you joined the Army. After serving 4 years at Fort Carson, Colorado, and completing a tour of duty in Bosnia, Kerri came home to Oklahoma to pursue a degree in criminal justice and joined the Oklahoma National Guard. She completed an associate's degree at Rose State College and a bachelor's at the University of Oklahoma, which thrills me to death because that's also where I graduated with my bachelor's and master's degree.
Yeah.
All while working full time, which is another thing that you and I had very much in common because I was working 80 hours a day plus doing college. So, I mean, 80 hours a week plus doing
Yeah.
college. So it was very difficult. And I did it later in life, but probably much later than you. But again, we have that shared common. We were working people. We were not young people that were directly out of school going to college.
Yeah.
Very
And I think
understand.
for me, that was a benefit because, you know, I was much more focused, I think.
Me as well. Yeah.
A little
Yeah.
older than I was. Yeah.
I think as adult learners, we actually appreciate education more than we did as a person directly out of high school.
Mhm.
So Kerri understands the value of hard work and the importance of service. Through her 23 years of military career, she deployed multiple times, serving in Bosnia and Afghanistan. Even though less than a quarter of the military is female, Kerri was consistently recognized for her leadership ability. Throughout her career, Kerri served as numerous challenging positions. She knows the meaning of servant leadership and the importance of working as a team to get the job done. She retired from the military in 2021 and continues to serve through volunteer work. Kerri lives in Shawnee with her husband, Colby, who is also a veteran. Her daughter, Devin, attends cosmetology school. Kerri's desire to run for office was spurred by the divisiveness in our state legislature. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
The extreme partisanship has led to inaction on critical issues and a lack of cooperation. Instead of passing legislation to help working families, funding public education, improving access to affordable housing and healthcare to include mental health and drug treatment, and creating opportunities and resources for small businesses, the legislature has focused on passing bills that neglect to address the needs of Oklahomans, just everyday Oklahomans. Kerri will be the voice of reason and work across partisan lines to fight for the people of House District 26. She has the drive and determination to get the job done. Kerri will focus on passing common sense policies and benefit all residents of our community, including funding for infrastructure improvement, education, healthcare, and jobs. You know what? When you're trying to build the economy, you have to build it on those four things. Those are the
Absolutely.
pillars of our economy. So I have to congratulate you, and you've had a wonderful life, and we are looking forward to you being elected as the next representative of House District 26.
I am as well. Thank you for that. Thank you
Well,
for that, Greg.
you've had a very vast experience. We have a lot of parallels between you and I won't get into that because we need to talk about you and less about me. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the biographical questions. Let's start with where you were raised. Tell us a little bit about your experiences and how you developed as a very young child growing up in Shawnee.
Sure. So thank you again for the introduction. I love this format. I love having conversations with people. I think that's really something that may be a little lacking in our culture right now. So it's great to be able to talk about the things that matter to us. So I grew up in Shawnee, as mentioned. My dad was a welder for a long time, and they traveled around the United States. And at one point, he was here building a water tower. It's actually a water tower that still exists here in Shawnee, and they really love this community, so they decided to settle down and plant roots here in Shawnee. So we lived in a house right across the street from the YMCA and the baseball and soccer fields, and we are active kids. We loved to be outside, and so we spent a lot of time swimming in the pool with the YMCA and playing in the soccer fields. And my parents coached our soccer teams and my brother's baseball team. and, we were in church every time that doors were open. So Shawnee is just a really great community, and there's a lot of people that care about each other. And that is evidenced in the amount of giving and service that people in this community have, and the outlook they have for making Shawnee better, continuing to make Shawnee better, and to continue to grow. So I grew up in Shawnee. I went to school in Shawnee Public Schools all the way through the 9th grade.
Right.
And then we moved to the north of Shawnee, which is out in the Dale School District. And so I graduated from Dale High School.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
After graduation, you went to Oklahoma State University down in Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
What was your educational pursuit? What were you wanting to do at that time?
Well, to be honest, I wasn't even really sure what I wanted to do long term. When I was a kid, I love animals, and when I was a kid, I wanted to be a vet. But that is a very challenging school, to say the least, and a lot of commitment involved in that too. So I didn't even really know what I wanted to do, but I went to OSU OKC to start, to get my basics down, because it's a lot more affordable when you go to a community college as opposed to going to a 4-year school right away.
Right.
And my family, I was paying for my college education myself. And so I had to find a school that was easier for me to be able to manage. And I really loved it. I love learning, and I love that community, but I just felt a call to service, and I wanted to see the world a little bit too. And so I joined the Army. My brother joined the Marine Corps, and I was like, well, I think I'll join the Army instead. My dad served in the Army as well, and my grandfather. So it was just something that I was called to do.
Oh,
and I have zero regrets. It was amazing. I had amazing experiences, and I worked with really great people. So
one of the questions that I have, you started into basic training approximately what year? We don't have to get into specifics, but
yeah, 1997 is
okay.
when I went to basic training, in November of 1997, which actually that time frame was really good, because I broke my foot. It was like a stress fracture in my foot. So I weighed 96 pounds when I signed up or when I enlisted in the Army. And I had to gain 2 pounds just to ship to basic training. So I was very small.
Right.
My drill sergeants, they gave me a hard time, because a lot of the equipment that we had just didn't fit. It wasn't made for a smaller statured person. And so all that weight and gear, I developed a stress fracture in my foot, but I'm very stubborn, and I did not want to quit. And so I protested enough that my drill sergeants, and, I showed enough resolve and determination that they let me continue. And so I finished our basic rifle marksmanship with a cast on my foot, and it was challenging, but, I made it work. And then luckily for us, that time frame, we had a break for Christmas, and they allowed us to go home. And so that gave me a little bit of time to rest my foot, and then got the cast off, and I passed a physical fitness test the week after. So my nickname in basic training was my maiden name is Norman, Kerri Norman. And so of course my nickname was Stormin' Norman.
Oh,
and so that kind of stuck with me through my military career.
Kind of a Norman Schwarzkopf takeoff there. It's very nice. Very nice. So you say you spent some time after basic training, you spent some time overseas. You served in Bosnia and Afghanistan. Where else did you, I can't remember all the places you served. Bosnia.
Yeah, just Bosnia and Afghanistan. So I deployed to Bosnia in the year 2000 when I was active duty in Fort Carson, Colorado. We actually deployed with a National Guard unit. My active duty unit deployed with a National Guard unit. And it was just a peacekeeping, it was a peacekeeping mission at that point in time. And so it was a really great experience. And then when after my 4 years of active duty. I came back to Oklahoma and we deployed to Afghanistan in 2003 for the first time. I deployed to the Oklahoma National Guard in 2003 for the first time. And then after that, I was hired on for the Oklahoma National Guard counter drug program. And I worked as an intelligence analyst or criminal intelligence analyst with that program for quite a while. And until I was hired on full time for that. It's kind of complicated if you aren't familiar with the National Guard. But I was basically active duty for the National Guard from the year 2003 until I retired in 2021. So
where were you at on 9/11?
9/11. So when the first tower was struck, I was actually doing physical fitness training in Fort Carson, Colorado. And we had finished our training that morning and we went home, or, were released to go shower and change. And when I tried to get back on the installation, they had everything locked down. So it took a couple hours to get back on the installation. And then we found out what had actually occurred. So
I imagine that raised some anxiety for everybody, because you knew at that point you were going to go to war.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very challenging, to say the least, for everybody. But it's something that the military trains for, and so we were prepared. Maybe not complete mentally. You never really know how well prepared you are when you're in that situation. But luckily, it's basically a family, and you're all a family, and so we support each other, and so that was beneficial the times that I deployed.
So while you were working in the National Guard, you also attended college. You want to tell us a little bit about what time did you start college?
So I'm one of those people that it took me a little while to finish college, and that was primarily because I was working full time and going to school. And so I did a lot of it online. We had some classes that were on campus, but I did a lot of it online as well. So it was a challenge, but nothing that can't be overcome with just dedication and hard work.
Right.
And again, I really enjoy learning and I enjoy conversations with my classmates. So it was something that was easily enough to do because I enjoyed it so much.
So let's dig into this just a little bit more. The University of Oklahoma has back in the 2010 timeframe, 2005, 2010, they had a College of Liberal Studies, and it was there was a leadership courses. That was the course that I was involved in, and for some reason, there's something in the back of my mind that says you and I were in class together.
We might have been in a class together. My bachelor's is in criminal justice, but I think we might have had I'm pretty sure I had a leadership class. I don't know exactly. I don't remember all of the classes that I took.
Right.
Could have been. Was it on campus?
No, these were all online.
Okay.
These were a lot of online classes, and there was a lot of classes that were electives that we ended up, we had to fill the bucket. You got to have so many hours of everything. And my favorite thing to do was take literary classes, English lit, Native American lit, African American lit. Women's lit. I took every literature class that you could think of because I loved being able to just do exposés. And so, but there was one of our professors that I had that was an Air Force. Well, he started in the Army, then he went to the Air Force, and he was a pilot. And he was strict. Boy, howdy, he was strict. I got in trouble in his class. But, and again, it was just ignorance. It was not, I say ignorance, it was just stupidity. It was, you're trying to work 80 hours a week. I was working 80 hours a week and trying to, keep up with, the requirements. And I just, fell behind, and, it caused little rift there for a little bit, but
Yeah.
just like you said, you got to overcome it.
Mhm.
After after you were so you graduated from OU in what year?
2010 is when I received my degree, my diploma.
You and me both. That's the same
Oh,
year
okay.
I graduated with my bachelor's degree.
Yeah,
Um,
and it was from the College of Liberal Studies, so I imagine we did have a class or two together.
right, right. Yeah, because there was a lot of parallel courses that you know, your core classes would have been different, but all of the electives would have probably been in the same time frame.
Mhm.
Okay. You let's talk a little bit about, your experiences with the legislature and what brought you to the point where you're just like, I can't take it no more. I can't sit on the sidelines no more. I've got to jump in.
Yeah, and I love that you put it that way because that is exactly how I feel. So I've always been interested in politics, and as soon as I turned 18, I couldn't wait to vote. I voted in, I think it was President Clinton's um, first election, his first run for first presidential run. And so I'm pretty sure I was able to vote in that election. And I was so excited to be able to vote and make my voice heard. And my dad has always been kind of vocal about politics as well, especially being a union president. And my mom was part of the union there at her middle school. So I identified with the Democratic Party because of their support for workers' rights and just the overall um, wanting to support people, working people, and people just like me, people that I identify with. And so when I retired, so I've always been engaged and involved in politics. And my friends and I, we have conversations about it. My husband and I have conversation about what's going on. And so in 2021, when I retired from the military, I had even more time to really, luckily, retiring allowed me an opportunity to consider what I wanted to do with my future, and more time to actually pay attention to what was going on in our state, especially the politics in our state, which obviously, which does impact people on a daily basis.
Right.
As you know, the legislation that is passed there does actually impact what happens to us on a daily basis. And so the more I was engaged, the more frustrated and angry I became. Just, it felt like the things that were going on at the Capitol building with a supermajority, bills were being passed that were not representative of my values. And frankly, I didn't think they represented the values of the majority of the people that I grew up with, the majority of the people in my community that are hardworking and that do care about each other and care about our community. So, actually, in last year, especially in the 2023 session, there were some bills that were passed that I felt were really, for one, um, they were very regressive and they targeted specific communities and without regard to, and I don't feel like they were informed by any kind of those bills were created and passed without any input from the actual experts, that those like the medical experts, the people that actually know what they're doing. And primarily I'm speaking about the abortion restrictions and
Right.
the restrictions against transgender care in
Right.
our state. And there was no input from medical doctors when those bills were being passed or created. And, I felt like they were just targeting communities of people who just wanted to be themselves and women who just want control of our own bodies and
Right.
want to be able to make our own decisions. And it seemed more about control as opposed to, like the government controlling what we're trying to do, our bodies and ourselves and our lives, as opposed to us being in control of our own decisions. in our own lives. And so that really just spurred me to act. And I decided that I wanted to run for the state legislature for House District 26. So, yeah.
So one of the things there's a couple of topics here that we will allow you to spend. I say allow. We're going to ask you to spend a little bit of time talking about.
Right.
But there was a report that came out by the American Journal of Medicine, and they say that they don't. I did not see Oklahoma statistics, but there was two sets of statistics that I did see. So again, this is from the Journal of American Medical Association.
Mhm.
In Texas, there was estimated 26,313 rape-related pregnancies that have happened in the 16 months after Governor Greg Abbott outlawed all abortions and said that he was going to eliminate rape. Do you have, I'm sure you've got, you've got something to say about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I read that same, well, I read an article about that same study that was published by the JAMA Internal Medicine. And they estimated that nearly 520,000 rapes were associated with 64,565 pregnancies across 14 states. And most of those 14 states had no exceptions that allowed for terminations of pregnancies that occurred as a result of rape. So I can't imagine what it would be like. And I can't imagine that most people would think that that was okay to force a woman to carry a pregnancy to term, a pregnancy that was a result of a very violent and horrible situation that was a result of rape.
Right.
Why would anyone want to force somebody to carry a pregnancy to term that was a result of something that happened like that, rape or incest, or even a pregnancy that is non-viable, a pregnancy where that child is not going to live. Having to carry a fetus for 9 months, knowing that they're going to die once they are born, or once you give birth to that baby, it's just causing more trauma for a woman. So a woman who's been traumatized by rape or incest, or that has a child that she very much wants, but that child or that baby has a defect or situation where they won't survive, putting more trauma onto that individual is just something to me that is abhorrent. And we should not, these laws that were passed have zero consideration for that. Our laws in Oklahoma provide no consideration or no exemption or exception for any of those situations. So it's just really disheartening, to say the least.
One of the things that I took away from that report that I felt that we needed more information from it is the age groups that it studied was age 15 and above.
Yes.
And we talk about the tragedy and the horror of a rape and a woman having to carry a child from a violent event, and that trauma will continue on. This will be a lifelong trauma. This will never end. They're going to make the best out of it, but again, it will always come back to this was forced. And then the thing that I'm kind of thinking about is the children, the young girls that are in that same situation. Now we're putting them not only in that same tragic condition, but we're actually putting their lives at stake because they're not developed to have a child. And
Yes, absolutely.
and it's abhorrent to think that we're going to destroy a girl's life, a woman, a young, she won't be able to develop as a normal as a normal woman because of a pregnancy. And it's just, to me, yes, I get the argument. I don't agree with it. I'm going to tell you straight up. I don't agree with any of this argument that I'm going to talk about, but I get what they're talking about when they say that every life matters. But to me, every life matters includes the woman.
Absolutely. And that is the point that I wanted to make as well. Every life matters, is especially the life of the woman and the mother, the life of the person who is pregnant. There have been many incidents of women who were pregnant and they wanted a child, they wanted their child, but again, their child was just not, the pregnancy wasn't viable, and that the doctors recommended one, termination of the pregnancy for both the fact that it was non-viable, and two, because it could cause some extreme situations with the life of the mother. And women have had to leave Oklahoma to get the life-saving treatment that they need, which is a termination of that pregnancy. So having to go somewhere else to save your own life. And there have been instances as well where women were basically on the brink of death before the doctor and the hospital decided to perform the abortion to save the woman's life. I just cannot believe that it should have to come to that. A woman's life is just as important as anybody else's, and she and her doctor should be able to make the decisions about that.
Exactly. This should never be a politician's responsibility.
It should not.
This should stay, politics should stay completely out of it.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to remember, I was trying to look it up, but I'm making so much noise on the keyboard that I don't want to even touch the keyboard at this point. But there's a young lady who is a doctor in Texas who had a non-viable pregnancy, and the state Supreme Court ruled that she could not terminate. And she is now going to be with Biden in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol during the State of the Union address. And I can't remember her name. I was trying to look that up. But
is that Allie Lindsay? Or I think Allie Lindsay is the one who's actually decided to run for herself, to run for office herself because of the situation that occurred with her pregnancy, and that she needed an abortion and was denied one. So, but I'm not sure. I can't remember. I know which lady you're speaking of, the woman that brought the suit that went before the Supreme Court. But I cannot remember her name either.
Right. Well, that's again, the conversations that I'm hearing among people, ladies who are of childbirth year, is two things about those 14 states that have absolutely red flagged abortions. Is number one, don't go there.
Yeah.
Because number one, you could the rapist has more rights than the person being raped. The rapist has the right to choose whomever they want to be the mother of their child. And that's such a tragic thing for us to be able to have that conversation. The second thing is, if you go to those states and you do have a medical emergency, you're not going to get treatment, and you may be banned from even traveling outside the state at that point once you go to a facility. And I wanted to ask Steve a little bit about that statement and see if there's anything from the legal side of the world that you may understand better than what I have about traveling to these 14 states, particularly Texas, since we're so close to it, that have absolute abortion bans, and what the impact would be for a woman who is raped or has a medical emergency within the state of Texas and being able to get out and go back home.
Well, I don't know what the state of Texas has passed, but there's some states, I believe, that have passed or attempted to present bills, at least, that would create a chilling effect. I'm not sure at all that they would be enforceable unless there's going to be a national law. And so that makes this coming election, not that we're talking about that election, we're talking about Kerri's election, here in Oklahoma, but it makes the national elections all that much more important. Kerri, I wanted to thank you for your service, first and foremost. It sounds like you have a wonderful family legacy. I'm not anywhere near your district. I'd certainly vote for you if I could. I'm up in Pawhuska, and Kevin and I got to know each other at a Madison Horn event back
Okay, yeah.
when she ran for Senate.
Mhm.
And then I know that you're also in CD5, right? And so you probably
Yes,
will be crossing
CD5. Mhm.
paths with Madison. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think this conversation about abortion rights and women's rights and women's health, it's all the kind of thing, obviously, that President Biden is tapping into and doing so in good faith and getting the message out. It provides an opportunity to draw in people who will vote that maybe haven't voted before. Because if we're trying to change the minds of these MAGA GOP individuals that are all about power, they're not about facts. You know, I've been listening, of course, to you all talk back and forth, and you all are talking about facts as if, the facts matter, and they do, but they don't matter to these power hungry individuals.
Mm.
And so it's well to talk about facts, but I think there's also an irony here in terms of being a lawyer. I know that Roe versus Wade was settled law, and Roe
Yes.
versus Wade looked at both sides. It
Mhm.
came up with in the first trimester, the woman had pretty much absolute right to do what she wanted to do with her health and the fetus that she was carrying. Got into the midterm, and more of a balance of interest. Got into the third term, and if the woman's life was threatened, then there would be a decision made with the doctor. But none of this, which just drives me crazy, abortion after birth BS.
Mm.
None of that talk. So
Yeah.
I appreciate, and it's all well and good for us to use these facts to enlist and get the interest of men and women about this very important issue. But of course, this discussion will not sway at all those who just look at this in terms of a power grab. And that's what happened when Dobbs was rendered. We had a power grab at the highest level.
Yes, I agree. It was settled law, and it did take into account different circumstances, and the fact that it is a medical decision between a woman and her doctor primarily, and the fact that women it is not something that women take lightly. There is no way that a woman would take having an abortion lightly. It's not a decision that would be easy for anybody to make or to come to. And so trying to say that women are using abortion as basically birth control is just outrageous and outlandish, and there's no truth to that. And I do agree that it is difficult. So one of the reasons why I love having conversations is so much is the fact that we can generally once we actually speak to each other in a civil manner and talk to each other about the things that that matter to us, we can generally come to an understanding and an agreement that, yeah, some of these laws are wrong and that they're regressive and they are hurting people. And so that's why I think it's so important for us to have those conversations. There are some people that are on the far side, from on the far end of the spectrum on both sides, that won't be able or willing to come to the table. But I think there are a lot of people in our state that are willing to at least consider and hopefully even change their minds about having a supermajority legislature and understanding the impact that it has to the people of Oklahoma, to all of the people of Oklahoma. One thing I did want to point out as well is that 75%, so the Oklahoma Association of OBGYNs surveyed their doctors post the fall of Roe, and 75% of OBGYNs in Oklahoma don't practice evidence-based care because they're concerned about being sued or going to jail for providing support and treatment to women that need it. 76% of OBGYNs in Oklahoma that were surveyed are planning to leave or thinking about leaving Oklahoma. There are a lot of places in Oklahoma that are already maternity care deserts,
Right.
and we're making that problem that the law that was passed in 2022, the abortion ban, is making that even more difficult and making it even harder to access the care and treatment that women need during their pregnancy and childbirth, and even after giving birth to their child. So Oklahoma has one of the our women in Oklahoma, we have one of the highest rates of women who lack access to maternity care and maternity treatment. And we're 44th in the nation for maternity care or access to maternity care. So it just is really important for us to consider those factors, and for our legislature to actually ask the people who are doing the work when they're trying to create laws, so that they're not creating laws that are negative to the people of our state and that are causing negative results. So
I do remember we were listed as one of the worst states in the nation for maternity mortality, that
yes.
women dying during childbirth, that we were one of the worst. I can't remember where we stood on that. That's whether we were in the worst 5 or the worst 10, but we were among the worst states in the United States for having maternity mortality.
Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of stumbling on my words a little bit there for a minute, but I found that what I was trying to find actually. So in 2022, a study of the best and worst states for women ranked Oklahoma the worst state for women to live in for both women's economic and social well-being and women's health care and safety. So that passing laws like the abortion ban are just making that even worse. So and then when you talk about rape and violence against women, Oklahoma is consistently ranked among the states with the highest homicide rate of women being killed by men.
Right.
Rose from the highest in 2019 to the second highest in 2020. But instead of focusing on ways that we can address situations like that, we focus on things that realistically are more about controlling people than about addressing the problems that we already have and finding solutions to the problems that we actually have. So,
and it's Representative Humphreys is an example of that, where, you know, it's about ragetainment. It's not about doing anything that's going to benefit anybody. It's about, you know, chasing this myth of a furry and having a litter box in a schoolroom, and it doesn't happen. It's ridiculous, and it's, you know, Ryan Walters and him pushing this pornography issue, and I, you know, that there's probably people that are looking for pornography in schools and they're not going to find it because it doesn't exist, but he still pushes that issue, and it's a ridiculous issue.
Kevin, let's talk about an issue that's important to both you and Kerri, and that's, I believe, the endorsement of the United Auto Workers of
Oh,
President
absolutely.
Biden yesterday.
Yeah, that was huge.
Yeah,
It's
it was.
huge.
Well,
And
wasn't he one of the first presidents or the first president to actually walk the picket line or be at
Yes, he's
the
the very
line with
first.
it,
Yeah.
and the union. So, I mean, that's pretty significant. And I think he has done some, but his administration has done some things that have been beneficial for working people. They are trying to provide support to working people and giving people that power back to be able
Right.
to negotiate for better wages and be able to provide more for their families, working people to be able to provide for their families. So
Does that, Kerri, does that help you at all? How do you see you running for this state position in the House and what Biden is doing? Or do you see dots to connect there in the Shawnee area for what the Biden campaign will be doing in its presidential campaign and what you will be doing?
Um, yes, but you know, I think it's important to really enter that where I'm for a state race. It's we are bringing it back to what our state legislature is doing or is not doing, because those are the things that directly impact our state on a daily and the people in our state on a daily basis. So, you know, my district is very red, primarily red. So, there is not a lot of support for President Biden right now. And, you know, I would love to, I I do appreciate all of the things that the Biden administration have done for our country. I think they've done a lot of really great things. They passed bills to improve infrastructure, which Oklahoma is utilizing some of that for our broadband internet access. And I think they just announced yesterday that they're going to be finally were able to start the program. And I think it's 55,000 Oklahomans initially will benefit from this, the first rollout of broadband expansion. And that's just like the first part. And so even more people are going to be impacted by that. But that is directly a result of a policy and passed under the Biden administration. And so, so yes, I do agree that what that the current administration has done has been much more beneficial to working class people and working people in Oklahoma. But it is, I like to focus on what I can do for the people in our state and what our state legislature can do. Because we can only impact what's going on in Oklahoma.
Right.
And so that's, what I want to be able to focus on, are the things that I can do to impact our community in Shawnee and Pot County here in Oklahoma. So.
Yeah,
Well,
and I think the irony there is that, and I'm up in Osage County, so my county is as red as your county is. Okay, I think
Yeah.
is it
There are very
Potawatomi
few that
County?
aren't. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the irony is that perhaps the Biden administration is making more of an impact in terms at the ground level in terms of spending dollars to help people than our state government is. And we've got a governor that brags about having this huge pot of money, that billions of dollars apparently, that's sitting doing nothing, but he wants another tax cut and this kind of jazz, right? So it's just ironic, but we have this propaganda machine that we, I mean, Democrats have to work against or ever be aware of in terms of Fox News and that kind of thing, where they're continually talking about how all government is bad and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, their propaganda machine is very effective. So, and especially, I think it became even more effective during COVID, and when people had more time, they were stuck inside their house, and so they had a lot more time to consume those news sources, which sometimes I almost hesitate to call them news sources, because they always accurately tell the truth and the facts, stick to the facts. But I do think that, what the current administration has done, yes, has very much had a positive impact in our state. And having that supermajority legislature, specifically Governor Stitt calling everybody in for another special session just a few days before the actual session occurs, at a cost of, I think the latest estimate was at least $17,000 for one day for people to come in and really not even do anything. They're probably going to gavel in and gavel out. So that's $17,000 that we could utilize for something else, for a benefit for Oklahomans. And the reality is that 0.25% across the board income tax reduction, which, decreasing income taxes always sounds great, but the reality is that's only about a dime out of everybody's pocket a day.
Right.
For that would be coming back to people. But think about what those tax dollars actually fund for the community. Those tax dollars provide the services that we receive in our communities, our infrastructure, our public school system. It goes to all those great things, and provide the services that we need. So I'm willing to pay a dime a day, to keep paying a dime a day, in order to continue to be able to obtain those services in our communities and maintain those services in our communities. So, and also to the point of the governor calling everybody in for that special session and wanting a tax cut across the board without even having done the analysis of the actual budget for this year. So I think that that's all just blustering and for show, as opposed to, I seriously doubt that he thought that he could actually get anything done one day bringing everybody in. But
Right.
that's kind of
And
his MO in Ron Walter's MO.
right. And it appears that uh, Leader Treat actually ran some numbers and said that the estimate that the governor was using is completely way off, and so he's going to gavel in and gavel out. They're not even going to participate. They've already made that statement. But we need to be wrapping this up. We're close to an hour now with you. I know that, I mean, I'm having such a great time. I could go on for another hour or two, but just for, you know, you've got other things to do besides sit around and talk to me and with Steve. And, but, you know, one of the things that I really want to talk just a little bit about and see if we can um, get something from you before we take off. I, it's the stump speech. It's that conversation that you have at the door, because you're going to be knocking thousands and thousands of doors in the Shawnee, in the county, in your area there for that House district, and you're going to be talking about, you know, an inspiring message that's going to resonate not only with Democrats, but it's going to resonate with Republicans to say, all right, we don't want you to just vote for party line here. We need for you to actually look at the individual, because we've got an outstanding candidate, and we want you to be able to tell people, you know, what is your most inspiring message and why should people vote for you?
Well, that's my most inspiring message. Some people um, may take that different ways. But so what I talk to people about when I'm at the doors, first of all, is that, you know, I served for 23 years in the military, and I served our country, and because I appreciate and I believe in our democracy, and I want to be a part of serving the people of my community as their representative to provide a voice for them. I feel like at this point in time, having a supermajority legislature for the past it's almost 20 years now, are the metrics of what have been occurring in Oklahoma have just been decreasing. We're 49th in the nation for education, 44th in the nation for women's health and social and economic well-being. We're one of the highest for domestic violence and abuse. And so with a supermajority legislature, they could fix all of those things, but they don't, because they're more worried about partisanship than they are about working together to solve problems. I've worked with all kind in the military and outside the military. I've worked with people from all different aspects and all different socioeconomic backgrounds and all different mindsets and opinions. And we were able to come together as a team to get the mission accomplished. And that's what I want to do. I want to work with people across party lines and forget about the partisanship and actually tackle the problems that people in Oklahoma have. So that's why I want to be the representative for House District 26.
Well, outstanding, outstanding. I've had a blast. I know Steve has as well. And I'll just leave this parting shot for closing down Coffee with Democrats today. Number one, thank you for taking the time out of your day to just sit down and have some coffee and a conversation with us today. It's wonderful to have these conversations. It just thrills me to death to just sit down and just have, you know, the most basic introductions that you can have, and also dig deep into your passion for being the people's representative for House District 26. So, Kerri, we are on your side. We support you, and we'll do everything we can to help. And we really appreciate you doing your due diligence and coming on Coffee with Democrats.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here, and I appreciate that you have this forum for people to get to know the candidates better and to get a better understanding of what they're trying to do and the impact they can have in our communities if, you know, they are the representative.
Sure, sure. Well, again,
And Kevin,
folks,
let's not miss the opportunity to point everyone, I believe it's to kerrikeck.com. Is that correct, Kerri? And I
good.
went up and already made a quick donation to your
Oh,
campaign,
thanks
and
so
I would
much.
encourage others to do so.
I appreciate that very much. So I would like to spell it out because my name is spelled a little unusually. It's KerriKeck.com.
That's right.
But thank you very much for reminding me and pointing that out. And I would like to say, if you live in House District 26, I hope I can count on your vote.
Oh,
There you
that's
go.
outstanding. Well, there you
And I
go,
hope
folks.
I should be seeing you on the door here pretty soon, hopefully, or maybe in our community. And I hope people take the time to have that conversation with me and sit and chat. I'd love to do that at any point in time. Coffee or tea or water or whatever else. I would love to have that opportunity. So, and thank you for this opportunity and giving me time to be in your living room, in your office, or wherever you're at this morning.
Well, again,
Very
thank
good.
you very much, Kerri. And there you go, folks. Kerri will be the voice of reason and work across partisan lines to fight for the people of House District 26. She has the drive, she has the determination to get the job done. And Kerri will focus on passing common sense policies that benefit all residents of our community, including funding for infrastructure improvement, education, healthcare, and jobs. Those are the pillars of the economy for the state of Oklahoma, and she's right on line. So let's count on your vote. Let's vote for Kerri Keck. And thank you, everybody, for being with Coffee with Democrats. Again, Kerri, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it. And I hope you have a great day today.
You do the same. Let's do this again soon.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.